Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and today we're getting ready for the 2025 Showpocalypse as outdoor trade show season is underway. But before we get to that, tomorrow, Tuesday, you're going to get a new episode of Open Container with host Doug Schnitzbahn here on the Rock Fight Podcast Network. And Doug's guest this week, a media guy who likes to use his words. It's Drew Simmons. Find Open Container wherever you get your pods. Lastly, are you heading to Switchback in June? If so, it is June. So are you heading to Switchback later this month? If so, be sure to put the Rock Fight live. Next week, I know. On the agenda for Tuesday, June 17th at 5 o'clock in the Trailheads Theater. We'll all be there. Producer Dave, Eoin, Shante, I'll be there. If Switchback is going to be the event of the summer, which we keep saying it's going to be, this will be the event at the event. Don't miss it and stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, so I'm at my local outdoor shop and I see this hydration solution called Hydra Pack. Naturally, I assume it's for safely transporting a hydra. You know, the mythical beast regenerates heads, needs moisture. Makes sense, right? Turns out no, not even close. Hydra Pack isn't for monsters, it's for humans. Humans doing all kinds of cool stuff outside. Running, riding, climbing, through hiking, even just hiking, you name it. And it's not some glorified water bottle. We're talking about hydration experts who make a modular, reversible, PFAS-free hydration platform. We're talking high-flow bite valves, plug-and-play hose systems, collapsible, heat-resistant, ultra-durable TPU reservoirs that practically clean themselves. It's hydration tech so advanced, it might as well have been built for a mythical creature. I mean, did you know that over 90 of your favorite outdoor brands already think so? And they use Hydra Pack technology in their products. And get this, they even have a retirement program. Repack takes old bottles from any brand and gives them a second life. Circularity, no landfill, no dragon hoarding, and retailers, Hydra Pack is accepting new partners for their Repack program, and this is something you definitely want to get on board with. So yeah, not a Hydra Pack, but the legendary Hydra Pack. Learn more at hydrapack.com. And hey, if you're wondering how Hydra Pack and the Rock Fight got together, well, it was because of our mutual friends at Darby Communications, because finding incredible solutions to get a message out there, that's just what Darby does. Liz and Royal Robbins were known as American climbing royalty, part of the first group of Yosemite-based climbers that would scale routes yet unclimbed, who would promote the ethic of clean climbing, and who, with a core group of startup brands, would serve as the foundation of our modern outdoor industry. From their very first pair of shorts that could boast a true climbing functionality, Royal Robbins has become synonymous with comfort, versatile wear for the modern adventurer. From Rockcraft Productions coming spring 2026 to a specialty store near you, Royal Robbins presents Being Royal Robbins. It's the story of how the Royal Robbins men's desert pucker became an icon and spawned the new Camino pucker. And it's the story of how an innovative brand launched mosquito protection technology to keep you protected without the use of chemicals, and why the Salif hoodie is possibly the most unique hoodie in our outside world, and how you can experience this uniquely American story of adventure through the thoughtful clothing choices of Royal Robbins. Available for streaming everywhere you find actual water-based tributaries. And don't miss a sneak preview at Spring 26 GOA Connect this June. Being Royal Robbins, because nature and adventure are good for the soul. All right, it's Monday on the Rock Fight, so of course I'm here with producer Dave and your outdoor industry insider, but our consigliere, Eoin Comerford. What's happening, boys?
Just, it's a good day to be alive, Colin. It really is. Mm-hmm.
Is that because you're heading to Reno, Nevada soon? Is that why?
Well, I mean, it's always a good day when you're heading to Reno, Nevada. Maybe only eclipsed by when you head out of Reno, Nevada. But no, I don't know. There's something going on in the political world today. It hasn't really made any news, but it's
no.
Oh yeah. It's a good day in the Comerford household. We'll just put it that way.
Are we? What at the bottom of the rankings of airports? Where is Reno's slot? Because I'm assuming it's bottom 5, right? We could just agree it's bottom 5. Not a great airport.
I disagree, Colin. I think it's unranked.
It's hoping to get ranked eventually.
Yeah.
Next year we could be 57.
Maybe. It's no Newark.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a great airport. The food options very, very limited. Yeah.
Nothing is worse than, your flight's been delayed while you're leaving Reno. That's tough.
And actually, Reno it's a funny town because the first time actually I was in Reno was last year at GOA, and I sort of had this visions of Reno being like a mini Vegas, which it really isn't. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's way cooler than Vegas because you're right there on the, you're right. You got the river, and it's an outdoorsy town. It's kind of weird,
Yeah.
right? It's like sort of Vegas and Boulder had this weird love child. I mean, it's kind of funky.
Which is not that, unlikely, right? That Boulder went to Vegas and made some bad decisions.
Really bad decisions. Yeah, exactly.
And now we have Reno.
Reno.
All right, guys. Well, we made it to June 2025. We're 6 days in, and so far the outdoor industry is still standing despite there being coast-to-coast regional trade shows happening. And apparently there was a big concert in Denver last weekend. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
No,
that was the thing.
Didn't hear about that. No.
Yeah, there's been, some people talking about it. But we're also on the cusp of 3 national shows, GOA Connect, Switchback Spring, and Outdoor Retailer. We'll be covering 2 of those shows. We'll have people at GOA and Switchback here on the Rock Fights. But let's set the table with just sort of the big picture. We haven't had sort of a kind of a trade show check-in for a while, even though we talk about it fairly frequently. So personally, what do we think? Like, what do we think we need in the outdoor industry? Oh, and let's start with you. What do we need when it comes to events? I mean, because at this point, we've known these events are coming. We know all the, the problems with having them all in June and all those kinds of things. When you step back and look at it, what do we need?
I mean, I think the first thing we need is just sort of a critical mass of people from all across the industry, from brands big and brands small, retailers big and small, sales reps, industry associations, some sort of critical mass where we're all like together. That's like sort of the first thing. And we just haven't had that in, I don't know, a half a decade, maybe longer. So that's number one. But what that then creates is there's some kind of interaction. And, I think that all the forms of interaction are important. Yes, obviously line showings to a degree, education sessions, happy hours, quite frankly, just dinners out are key as well in the whole deal. But, I think having that sort of critical mass can help then recreate the level of community and shared purpose that really has defined our industry for decades, and I feel has been sorely lacking for a while. And with that sense of community, then I think we're going to break down some of those barriers. There's been sort of a feeling between brands and retailers and others that sort of everyone for themselves, like, okay, we're going to, and that's led to, discounting and all kinds of other stuff and bad stuff that's going on, that I don't think necessarily would have been as bad if we had that critical mass where people were sitting across the table from each other and face to face, and there was that more personal aspect to the relationship, and it wasn't just a Zoom call, right? And so I think that's the key thing right now is getting to that critical mass.
So we've said that, right? I think that's been kind of like the driving force. That's what the folks who started Switchback, right, have been saying, like, this is why we want to do it. I mean, OR, to their credit, the much things they've tried, that has been sort of an underlying current behind there. I mean, what do you think it is we've learned over the last 10 years, right? Because we had that. We had this sort of critical mass sort of event to a really large degree a few years. I mean, the one thing when we started hanging out with Doug Schnitzbahn, he mentioned that it's less about probably the work getting done at these shows, and it is more about the gathering and setting the sort of big picture goals of the industry and everyone kind of being in the same room and hearing them. So what do you think we've really learned in the last 10 years to inform, why we need it so much?
I think, at least from my perspective, the first thing we've learned is that trade shows are not really just about writing orders, right? That has been this sort of fiction, I think that has been underlying the trade shows and has undermined trade shows for the last 2 decades, right? The reality is that established brands with established retailer connections, most of those orders happen elsewhere. They happen at a regional show, or they happen in one-to-one meetings between reps and retailers or whatever, right? So we chased that for so long. We moved shows around into the quote unquote order writing windows and all this other bullshit, which really messed everything up. So I think that's the big thing that we've learned, is that it's not about that. I mean, product obviously is key to what we talk about, but it isn't this mega line showing. So you don't have to have 60 by 60 booths, right? It is about community and getting together. And so, yes, have the product there, have the newest, latest and greatest. You don't have to have every style and every color. You don't need to have a 60 by 60 booth. It can be a 20 by 20 booth, right? And really refocus trade shows around connection and discovering new brands, right? That's the key. That's the sort of secret sauce, I think.
Dave, when we look at where things stand, and we're having a little fun at Outside's expense for the festival they had last weekend. But by all accounts, people who were there had a great time. People had a good time at the Outside Festival last year. And you look at their industry day, it does seem to be a little more geared towards the guiding sector, the conservation sector, the kind of like more recreational part of what could also be called the outdoor industry, whereas we tend to talk more about the making of and selling things kind of side of the industry. And then you have the smaller events like, the Outdoor Media Summits, the Outdoor Market Alliance media, the media events that we go to. Is there anything missing? Do you feel like all bases are covered at this point? Is there something that we still haven't been able to kind of find a solution for when it comes to getting people together in the outdoor industry?
I think like everything else in our ecosystems, media, brands, have broken into very small little niches, right? And so that's what's happened here, as opposed to the one size fits all, like all aspects of the industry coming to one place. It has broken, like you said, into regional shows, which are more buying specific, to media, to PR kind of shows. So and to like you said, even the nonprofit sector, which was an important part of the outdoor industry, the conservation piece, is kind of moved into its own sphere, right? And so they've all kind of broken apart. So I don't know if anything's missing. I mean, you can get all of those things. It's I think it goes back to kind of what Eoin was saying, that it's this connection. I would even call it connected energy. That's the thing that kind of binds us, and that in person, nothing replaces that. You said buying is going on in other places. Yeah, in person. Orders might be written online, right, and things like that, but the actual buying and selling and is so important to that energy that creates an industry, and it is an intangible spark, electrical kind of connection, and it's what causes creative ideas to kind of coalesce around similar themes. They're not talking, they're not sharing. It's just this idea of this energy that's kind of fused through the same inputs, and we're all getting the same kind of feedback. And I think it's an important part of what connects our industry together.
Well, it's easy to look at all like the last 10 years and have a negative point of view of like, what we have and what we don't have anymore. I tend to look at it because Eoin, you mentioned about, we don't write orders, and Dave, you're saying we're not really writing orders. It is about the getting together. And I've said it on the show probably plenty of times. I was the best example of, I kept trying to make it about writing orders because I was a sales manager and I wanted to say, boy, it's a good thing we went to that show because look at all these orders we got. And it just found such what you just described, Dave. I didn't want to be like, no, but it's worth that we spend $500,000 on this booth because of the energy, right? It just didn't feel like it held water. And I think the learnings of the last decade is like, no, that energy is important. Actually, it can be important the getting together is important enough on its own.
But you don't need the $500,000 booth to do that.
And that's
but they're so sweet.
They are.
But that's exactly the point, Dave. Is you don't need the $500,000 booth to do it. And actually, it can be effective from a cost perspective if you view that as, hey, this is where we'll have our head to head, top to top, meetings about the business once the assortment has been set.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where the real value was, at least I found for Moose Jaw, was where, I could sit down across from, the president of Mountain Hardware or Marmot or whatever, and have a real conversation about this is where the business is at. This is where our business is at. This is what we're seeing in terms of discounts. Like, how can we move the needle here? Not what should we buy? We've already decided that. It's now how do we work together to actually sell through? And you don't need a 60 by 60 booth for that. I would say, of the sort of the lessons that have been learned, I think we're seeing that, in what's happening with the trade shows today. So Outdoor Retailer, Switchback, they have set maximum booth size to 20 by 20, which I think is absolutely the right move. Because also they're not overshadowing the new upcoming brands, which are usually taken out of 10 by 10. Also, I think both of those shows and actually GOA Connect are being more focused on new brands now. The Discovery Marketplace that's coming up at GOA, or will have just happened yesterday when the show airs, now is 5 hours. I think it was 2 hours, maybe.
It's 2
previously.
last year, I believe.
Yeah. So
it
now
felt
it's
very short.
It did, and now that gives those new brands, a much larger time frame to really get to meet and have good conversations with retailers. Switchback is doing special things for emerging brands. OR has said has publicly said that it's a focus, that they want to be a place where people discover new brands. So I think that message has happened. The one element that hasn't happened is the dates haven't been fixed yet, right? And I think that'll be like the next, hopefully, shoot a drop, is to say, hey, listen, okay, we've figured out these other things. Now let's move these shows back to where they need to be, which would be, in my mind, August and January for these shows.
Yeah, I think already it's upwards of potentially over more than 10 regional shows that are either happening or have happened by the time this episode comes out. I mean, it is just stacked in June. And I don't know. OR in August worked for a real long time.
Did.
It was so
right. But if you do remove your expectation that you're going to be, writing the specific orders, and you move it to more of a kind of what I call like display and play, right? I mean, that's really what this is about. Show me what you got. Let's talk about it. Let's build some, some energy around it, and then let's connect. And let's, and like you said, even those meetings you talked about, you've got a short window. You're not going to solve all of the business issues, but you can at least get them on the table, talk about them in a good, positive, branded atmosphere. Like I'm feeling it. And then we go back and we do the work of solving those. Right. But
and those executives from those brands, for example, can really get a temperature of the industry in a really condensed period of time. And they can go back and they can say, either wow, the overall reaction to the assortments that everyone saw over the last couple of months is really solid. We're on track. We're doing well. Everything is great. Or, people are really worried about inventory. Get a real feel for that, so you can then react and change appropriately, rather than sort of be in this cave where like, we've got reps at regional shows that are talking to these brands or what have you, and the executive team is completely disconnected from what's actually happening on the ground.
Best example, and we may have mentioned this as a reference maybe on the Top 5 Apparel Pod, but this past Friday spoke to the GM of Marmot, who's going to be exhibiting at GOA and at Switchback, and we all talked about the position Marmot's in and the work they need to do to kind of get back where they used to be. What better place than to roll into a spot like this where there's a lot of people who have influence in the industry and position and have been in the industry a long time and understand, the nuance there of why they are the way they are, and to see what they're doing, and if it's working, it's going to be a bump for them, right? Be like, did you see? That'll be those hallway conversations. Hey, did you see Marmot? See what's going on at Marmot? Right. That's how that narrative changes. And we don't have that. Then it's a much harder uphill battle for them to sort of reassert themselves if they're able to do that. But also, $500,000. That used to be a pretty small booth at OR. I feel like that's how bad it got.
Really, I was never on the brand side. It really was. Like, how much would they spend?
I mean, there was easy. I remember the one, someone told me one of the North Face booths was like $1.5 million or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like that one was like triple decker or something, like, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I've been a part of 6-digit booths, no doubt about it. And they weren't the biggest booths by far. So yeah, North Face was always
it got silly.
Well, there was the booths and paying for the booths, but then there was also paying for everyone to get there, and the crazy hotel prices, the eating out, the whole thing.
Right.
I mean, it was a big check to write.
Big expense.
Right.
Big expense.
Keen had the they always for years had the big wood based booth. I mean, it was a structure. Right. It was kind of a fort, right?
They had to have a 4-day show just to justify erecting
this thing. They did, and they had to keep it for years to justify to bring that thing down. But no, I don't think. But look at TRE though. There's some kind of old school booth building going on there, and it creates a great energy. I mean, this is not to discount too the importance of environment and experience, right? I mean, it does create a sense of wonder in the idea where you can go in and create a crafted, sculpted experience is impressive, and it's a great for that moment, and it's just finding that balance of where you want to, how much you want to bring to it.
Well, you know who we are going to see there, who's going to be at all three of the shows in the next few weeks. He's going to go 3 for 3. It's our guy, Lloyd Vogel.
Oh, my.
From Garage Grown Gear. And you want to know what's new at Garage Grown Gear?
What's
Miranda
that?
Webster of Miranda Goes Outside partnered with Mazama. Is it Mazama? Is that how you pronounce that? I'm going to say Mazama. To create a reusable water bottle replacement for single-use bottles. Behold, the Migo bottle that launched on Garage Grown Gear. It's a sturdy and safe plastic bottle with unique features, including 2 different cap openings, volume measurements on the side, enviable style, and its standard size easily fits in your backpack. Find out why this is no ordinary water bottle. Go check it out on garagegrowngear.com. This is actually, I think, one of the coolest products I've seen, and one of the most just products, right? All these thru hikers and backpackers use a single-use smart water bottle because of the narrowness, and it fits all. And this basically is that same profile, but it's in a reusable bottle. Like, just makes sense.
Totally.
So, good job, Miranda and Mazama. All right, our next topic is presented by Lem's Footwear, who is looking for retailers to come say hi and see what Lem's can offer their shoe wall when they exhibit at Switchback next month. Like we mentioned, the first show we'll be covering is GOA Connect here on the Rock Fight. The Connect show is for specialty dealers. So we want to start with a recent story about a well-known specialty dealer that's actually closing up shop, a GOA dealer, and then get into what we're expecting next week when we get to Reno, Nevada. So a few weeks back, news came out that Next Adventure in Portland, Oregon, I think Dave has to excuse himself for a second. He's crying right now. Is closing after 28 years in business due to a, quote, lot of uncertainty. While that uncertainty could be related to our current tariff situation, Next Adventure has been through the ringer during their tenure, most notably in 2021 when they faced a lawsuit that nearly put them out of business and caused them to shut down all their outdoor programming. So, I mean, they've been through a lot. I mean, just any retailer that's been around for close to 30 years has been through a lot, right? So it's a tough gig, even if you enjoy doing it. So the first question that comes to my mind, coming off the news about Next Adventure, is actually what happens with shops when owners just don't want to do it anymore, right? I mean, it's like, I think of the state of where we are specialty-wise and our new stores being opened up. Is there transition plans? Like, what happens? So, Eoin, you're probably the best qualified to talk about this, having, been at a retailer for a big chunk of your career. How do you view that? Like, what should retailers be planning for?
I mean, it is a challenge that's facing a lot of independent outdoor specialty store owners because many of them really did start in the 70s, 80s, or even the 90s. And so they've been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years in some cases. The challenge is that, if you think of your average independent specialty store, it's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square feet, maybe for a lot of them. It's doing somewhere between maybe $600 to $1 million or so, which is, a good chunk of change, but that doesn't really kick off enough cash to make it super exciting beyond like an owner operator role, right? Where the owner is in there, the owner's, is kind of the store manager, the buyer, doing all the stuff. So it isn't really a great investment vehicle. It's something that's good for another owner operator that really wants to be in the space. Okay. And so that can be challenging though, to find that person to, just sort of come off the street and like take the reins like that, and, not being just a pure investment situation. And so, I think a lot of, owners have a hard time finding an outright buyer. And so what you see happening over and over again is, they've got an upcoming, let's say, lease renewal. And they're like, do we want to do this for another 5 years? I don't know. And then they realize that their most valuable asset is actually their inventory. So they just go through basically an orderly liquidation. And that gives them, whatever it is, 300, 400, 500 grand or something that they can, that's really what they get out of it. Right. And it's a pretty tough situation.
Yeah. I was talking with Gabe at GOA, and he was talking about, at least for GOA specifically, between Next Adventure and Midwest Mountaineering, those are the only 2 GOA accounts that have actually closed and did not turn the keys over to somebody else. I think you said there's been 15, I think is the number of transitions from, the prior ownership to a new ownership, which is pretty great. And by the way, that's the GOA. That's, 100 plus stores. It's not, it's not the entire specialty market. When I look at the sort of landscape of the outdoor industry and specialty, and young people coming up and what they might be enticed to do. I kind of wonder, why would you, to what you just said, why would you want to start a shop? Wouldn't you rather maybe gamble and start a brand instead? Because it's like there's a higher upside there. And it's great if these shops are staying open and again turning the keys over to someone new, but I do worry that if we get to the place where are we going to have enough people to backfill and keep the specialty market alive, right? And kind of like it doesn't just default to being a big box industry. We don't want it to become the Home Depot and Lowe's of the outdoors, right? Where it's just like Dick's and REI. We need these specialty shops.
What I've seen work well with these sorts of stores is where the owners start succession planning early, and they realize that the most likely person to buy the store is actually somebody who works in the store. And so what they'll do is they'll sort of overhire. So they'll hire somebody to be a real store manager, right? So that they can take a bit of a step back, have that person really learn the business as an employee, really running the business, getting all the ins and outs for a number of years, and then offer seller-based financing to that person to take over the store. And in that way, the store can live on. You've got somebody who's taking the reins that really knows every aspect of the business because they learned it, from the owner-operator. And then that's where it goes. But the challenge is that for that time period, you're probably, I don't know about overpaying, but basically you're paying for a role that you yourself as the owner had done for a lot of time. And so there's some more cash outlay happening to like overhire for that role. So that's the first thing I would say. I was chatting with Russell Cree, who's with Bell Lap Advisors, who specializes in M&A for the outdoor industry. And he had an interesting point when we were chatting about this, was that, you really need to keep clean financials that show the true profitability of the business for at least a number of years, like 3 years before you want to sell. Because a lot of owner operators, you run personal expenses and stuff through the business because it's the best way to, manage your tax burden, et cetera, your car, all the things legal to do. I'm not suggesting anything, but what happens in that scenario is it burdens the business maybe with some personal expenses. And so the business is actually more profitable than it would appear based on those financials. So those store owners, need to, again, it's about that planning and really having that sort of 3-year window to say, okay, if we're going to do this retirement, let's get ahead of it, both from a people perspective, but also from a balance sheet perspective.
I mean, I guess it comes down to, you got to really just want to do this, right? You really got to want to own a shop. It's got to be just like, it's a tough world to get into, and it's going to dominate your life in all facets, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's open, if you're going to make money, probably 7 days a week, right? And you've got to deal with people and bills and customers. I mean, this business would be great if we didn't have to deal with customers. Love a Clerks reference. Yeah. So, but it can be a really rewarding thing to do, but you have to really enjoy it. And where it can work best is where your store is the community hub of the outdoors for that town, right? That's a really important place to be. And I think some people really would want to be that and be part of that and be that person in that location. If all you're looking at it is as a financial transaction, and this is a way for me to make money to, pay for my kids' college or whatever, there's probably better ways to do that.
Dave, what's Portland doing for next adventure? They just putting a bird on it? They're going to pickle that? Like, what's has the public outpouring stopped yet? Is it going to be years from now? We're still celebrating the life.
There's still lots of folks talking about it, people hearing about it for the first time. So, the social media feeds continue to, it's loss, it's awe. It is. It's been such a center of kind of the Portland outdoor community for sure. I mean, look, REI left not too long ago from their Portland location. I mean, they have, beautiful suburban stores, but it's just not the same of, again, hopping on your bike and heading down to the shop if you need to, for sure. Yeah. Look, there's a couple other really great outdoor stores here too. Foster Outdoor is going to kind of hold the mantle to this, and the other is Mountain Shop. They've got a good a good presence, 2-story building. They sell all sorts of gear, rental equipment, things like that. So there are other places. It's just the kind of the central location of Next Adventure also made it kind of a standout. I mean, it's in the inner east side of the city. Replacing that real estate's going to be very difficult. It's a big shop. Plus, they have the paddle shop a couple blocks away. So I think that's another thing in terms of finding an owner for it. This is a big real estate piece. And so I think the city's going to definitely feel the loss because I just don't see who's going to be taking that space in that part of town so easily.
They're on Grand?
Yeah,
is that
right on Grand. Yeah. And, and a big storefront, too. You just...
Because they're just down from the Evo store, right?
They are just down from the Evo store, and
that's going to hurt Evo.
It is going to hurt Evo. They bring a lot of folks down there, so it's just not good from a Portland perspective. No, it's not good. And like I said, there's other shops that will fill that, and hopefully that people will find them and migrate to them. But I have to say, as those classic shops go, you have a big space that was filled to the gills with everything that you could imagine. Deals in one corner and new in the other. They had the used gear basement. I mean, the classic basement with a massive grand staircase to go down it, and and it smelled like it was 30 years old. I mean, that's the vibe that you want. There's shoe section and footwear, and of course socks, just big. Like, it really kind of gave you everything you want from that visit in one space, and that's the big miss for sure.
Well, I think they're still open, right? So they close.
They are until August.
Fall,
they're moving through, but
and like we said, this is coming out on the Monday where we'll be at GOA. So if you're listening to this while you're like working out the gym at GOA Connect in Reno, Owen and I especially will be on the floor. I think we're near the Oboes booth, if I'm not mistaken. Come by. Tell us what your succession plan is if you're a retailer.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious,
Yeah, I mean, I think what the theme of the show for us is going to be the state of outdoor specialty retail. So we'd love to hear from anybody. I mean, if you're a rep, if you're a brand, if you're with grassroots and want to chat as well. I mean, we just really want to take a temperature and see where we are as an industry.
Yeah, and we're going to get into some GOA preview and predictions in a second. But first, guys, did you know that at LEMS we're always pushing boundaries? And this spring, we took a big step forward with the launch of our first ever sandal, the Switchback Sandal. It's our biggest release to date, built with the single continuous webbing system for secure fit and known as the Switchback Slider. That's a little device, actually, that helps you kind of adjust on the side. It's actually pretty ingenious if you have a pair of Switchback sandals. We're beyond proud of how it turned out and can't wait for you to check it out. Catch it in person at the Switchback event in Nashville, June 17th to 18th, or grab a pair at lemsshoes.com. Take my word for it. This will be the most comfortable thing you will step on. And actually, it is really comfortable. It's incredibly comfortable. See, they wrote that, but they're not it's not inaccurate. It's a pretty incredible. It's a pretty incredibly comfortable sandal. So give it a shot.
I think the Switchback Slider sounds like a sandwich option at the trade show.
Oh, I love a good slider.
Wouldn't that be good? Switchback Slider.
There's a new burger place we go to, and on the menu just like a variety of different sliders. So if you don't want to have a giant burger, you can just get like one or two. You can like just order them a la carte. It's perfect. I just want a little bit. Just want a little slider. I don't want to have a giant burger.
Do they have a Switchback
now.
Slider?
They should.
Yeah, I think so.
Why not?
Right.
You put the ketchup on it and a Switchback design.
Yeah, a little comfortable.
Right? You're listening to Rockfight Radio.
A ball sock for all times. It's no ordinary sock. It does what it says it does. Fit. Our socks marine, but they don't fall down. This sock fits better than your sock. A funky shaped sock that's an elegant solution to budging in the toes, heel slippage and falling down at the ankle. A sock with patented knit structures that achieve whole foot comfort that you can really feel like whoa. A sock that acts like a base layer. A sock that's all about the base layer. A thermoregulating moisture wicking body forming base layer. Fits is a sock that fits better than your sock, maybe even the best sock ever. It really could be Fits. A bull sock for all times. It's no ordinary sock. It does what it says it does. Fit, 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 fit. It really could be Fits. layer.
Well, you got DJ CT right here with you, and that was Bold Sock, the first big hit we ever had from Fitz. Fitz has been knitting the hits since 2014 with their patented whole foot comfort approach to making fine gauge merino performance socks. They make some of the best basics in the biz. Retailers, make sure to stop by and say hi at GOA Connect this June. It will be sure to put a smile on your toes. And now, back to the show. Today's GOA Connect predictions are presented by Oboes, the pride of Bozeman, Montana, who also is the Cupid to the outdoor world. And like we were saying, when this episode drops, we'll be in Reno. So those not as familiar with Connect, it's a pretty unique show in that it's not set up to carry the kind of normal frenetic experience of a trade show. Brands exhibit and retailers take meetings with them, but those meetings are preset by the show itself. So the vibe during the day is more like classes in session than it is like,
yeah,
right?
It's weird. Oh yeah, because I went for the first time last year, expecting a trade show, cool. I'll get to see everybody, and no, it's all like black curtain and rod. It was what? What's going on? I mean, it's very effective this is an order writing show. I mean, yes,
this is an order writing show. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was sitting. I had a table next to Connor McElroy, who was still with the Conservation Alliance, and I honestly, we were talking kind of across the aisle, and I was waiting for the librarian to be like, "Shh, hey, not." People are meeting right now.
They do employ librarians to wander the hallways. Yeah,
that would be a worthy use of some marketing dollars, just to pay a few actors to dress up as librarians at Connect. Shush people.
Yes.
Well, we were alluding to a little bit earlier on, but what are we anticipating, right? So let's start with the Discovery Marketplace, which is the night before the show. You talked about it earlier. This is a chance for brands who do not exhibit at the show to kind of small brands to show up and display for buyers. And I was going through the list of brands that were on there, and I made a list of the ones I was the most excited about. But I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Is there anyone you're excited to see at the Discovery Marketplace?
Me, actually, in a number of cases, it'll be the first time I'll actually get to see people in the flesh that I've been talking to, online for the past 12 months.
Well, we've established you own half of the outdoor industry, so right, you own all these brands. So it's...
no.
Ownership,
I own
Colin, just ownership.
I own a part of some of these brands, but like Cassie, for example, from Wild Rye will be there, and like she was saying, we were just chatting via email the other day, and she said, "Oh, it'd be great to see you in person." I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's right." I mean, we've been on so many Zooms, but I can't believe I've never actually met you in person. So for me, it's just the chance to see everybody, and also to see everybody after this crazy year with joining you guys in the rock fight and all the rest of it, and just it'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's looking ahead to Switchback when we'll be together. And same, I've never seen Shantae in person, right? So I was like, this is going to be really almost off-putting. Like, should we do little cardboard cutouts that we were around our heads where we look like we're on computer monitors? Because I don't really know what to expect.
Yes.
No, some of the brands I was looking to, I had Wild Rye on my list. Same thing. I've never met Cassie in person. Berghaus. I've been hearing from those guys. They're sort of apparently doing a big U.S. push. They launched that at the Outside Festival last week. So Shane over there has been reaching out to us. They're going to be at the Discovery Marketplace. Millet is going to have a spot, which we've obviously talked a lot about their push into the U.S. Mm-hmm. So Dave, you and I can go over and Millet it up with the Millet guys or gals. Mountainsmith is going to be at the Discovery Marketplace.
Okay.
Dude, you just literally described kind of an old school brand reunion versus Discovery.
Because Berghaus and Millet were both in the U.S. market.
Yeah,
probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it'll be more like it's like a reunion.
And I don't know if Mountainsmith was just never a GOA brand, and now they're just trying because I know they're pretty big, a pretty healthy presence at REI and places like that. But
sure,
that'll be interesting. Ripton, I'm interested in the the Jort brand, the Active Jorts, and then another one. Because there's a press release out Paca. So Paca is that the alpaca? It's alpaca.
It's
goods.
alpaca, yeah.
And they are now making a big push into outdoor specialty. There was a press release this morning in SGB that they've just hired a bunch of new reps, rep agencies, and this is obviously the beginning of that push into independent specialties. So interested to see what those brands have.
Yeah, Paca, interesting brand. Out of Boulder, but all alpaca, and really, I mean, most people don't know what alpaca wool is like, but it's super soft. The alpaca folks sent me some stuff. It was really lovely.
What was the sock brand in like the early 2000s that had alpaca wool. They were actually pretty competitive with like the smart wools and stuff like that back in the day. I had a bunch of pairs that probably I got for free at OR, but I can't remember for the life of me now.
Yeah, I don't think I've paid for a sock in like 15 years.
If you're paying for socks and you work in the outdoor industry, you're doing it wrong. And plaid shirts for that.
Right.
Although actually, black socks. If you need plain black socks, you're shit out of luck. But otherwise, you're in pretty good shape.
We might know a guy.
I'm going to say, and I want to hold my beer for a moment. And
this is when he's not producer Dave and he's David Fitz Karstad.
That's right. And we make some of the best basics in the business, Owen. So
is that Fitz? Fitz makes the best basics in the business?
Without a question. Without question.
Good.
You want a black sock? We got a black sock. We got a coal sock. We got a navy sock. We got a brown sock. Yeah.
There's a new rule that if you're going to be promoting Fitz outside of their ad space, you need to do it in song form and you just sing.
I can sing. I don't know, Colin. My attention was taken by active jorts. So that's where I'm thinking about right now. I can't get out of that.
Baby.
Right?
The other one on the list I'm interested in, we saw them at OR last summer, was Pingora, which is a couple of the founders, one of the founders from Code Epoxy is Pack Brand. Any brands you guys are excited for? Did I nail all the good ones?
You got all the good ones.
You took all the good ones, exactly. No, I to be honest, I haven't had a chance to look at the list, but I'm sure you picked all the good ones, Colin.
I definitely picked the good ones,
except for the other good ones that you missed.
But I will say though, right? As we kind of get the run up to the beginning of the show, there's always the game that we play in the week prior to the show, which we call "Where's My Pallet?" Right, where you're always wondering, are my stuff going to get
miss
there
those days,
on time? Where's my pallet? Because we shipped it from here. So I have a question for y'all. Okay, I got a pallet going to Reno, right, for the aforementioned socks. I'm going to list 3 states that my pallet is in. Can you name the state?
Are you tracking it like actively?
Yes. Where did it start?
Okay, it started from Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
Birmingham,
and it's
Alabama.
due to arrive in Reno.
That's right.
When's it supposed to arrive?
Well, it's supposed to be there now, but it needs to be there by Sunday for sure, right? So,
is your whole booth on this one pallet?
No comment, Colin. I can't.
I'm going to go
security.
I'm going to go with New Mexico.
Okay, well here's I got 3 for you.
Oh, okay.
So multiple choice.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say otherwise that was a pretty good guess.
Okay.
First is New Mexico. Yeah.
Okay. So the number 1 is Oregon. Number 2
that would be terrible.
is Pennsylvania.
What?
And the 3rd is California.
I'm going PA.
I mean, California would make the most sense, so obviously it can't be California.
So it's probably Oregon.
It's probably Portland, just because they decided they wanted to do a drive-by by Dave's house.
Did you ship it air freight?
No.
Okay. Well, I mean, because
no. It's a pallet, Colin.
Because it's weirder, and those places are all really weirder if it's on a truck, right? Versus to like this one hub on a plane, right?
Right.
Just the fact that you're asking means it can't be California. And since Colin already took Pennsylvania, I have to go Oregon.
Okay. Right. The answer is all 3. My pallet has been in all 3 of those states. And I don't know why.
David.
Right. But we've got an email that is supposed to be arriving. So, you know what? It's part of what we do in marketing, though, is you got to pull off the miracles, right? And honestly, that's where trade shows allow those departments to shine. Shout out to the events teams, the promotions teams, the marketing teams. You got to put it all together under crazy circumstances and things that you cannot control and make it look like it was easy. So
If you want to, especially OR when the booths were that big, we were talking about earlier, like the day before, and you're like, how is this going to be ready by 8, 9 a.m. tomorrow?
It is always. I love that going in the early setup days, and you always have that same feeling. How in the world this whole thing looks like a shell? And sure enough, by the time the bell rings in the morning, it is transformed. Right, no doubt.
What is the over under for amount of steamers that are going to be on the floor in Reno?
Well.
75 and a half, or you take the over?
I know we got a new one, so I'm pretty excited about that, right?
Oh, steamer for steaming the clothes. Okay,
there's gonna be some poor, junior marketing person in there steaming all the apparel.
I will just say, do not let that task go unnoticed. You know what? Spend some time, train that person, know what you're doing, makes a big difference.
All right, last thing. Do we have any predictions for the show? Because the last GOA, which I don't think either Owen and I were there, but David, you were there. We got news that's where the news came from that Yeti is planning to sunset Mystery Ranch. Like, any bold predictions for what might go down at this show?
My prediction is that when somebody talks about because I was at the last summer show when the rock fight was sort of introduced a little bit to, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of blank stares at the time.
We got a few cheers. There were a few cheers.
At least
Sounds like,
yeah. I think
There were more than we thought we were going to get.
You asked people to raise their hand if they had listened to the podcast, and there was at least 5 people, I would say, at least. So so my bold prediction is that there will be far fewer blank stares and quizzical looks when somebody says the rock fight.
I will agree with that. We David and I spoke about. We were quite pleased with the amount actually of people who knew at that point. But you're right; it was definitely not the majority of the room when I helped out at lunchtime and to hand out the awards. I don't know if I'm doing that again this year, but I have a feeling we'll have more people stopping by to say hi than did last year.
Go from
mostly because you're going to be there, Owen.
Quizzical looks to looks of discomfort,
and
so it's just
they're going to come see their boss because you own their brand. So it'll be.
Wait, will anybody though physically abuse Colin? That's my question.
It's on the table.
Are we going to need some kind of security detail?
Well, that's also why you're there with me.
Well, yeah, I'm a good guy in a scrap. That's okay.
You can handle an ice axe.
All right, well, today's episode of The Rock Fight was presented by Oboes, who wants to share their love of hiking, and we want to help them by uncovering all the different reasons we love to take the long walk, including the following. Number 1, sunrise makes you feel like a Disney princess. And Dave, you can tell us all about that. Go ahead right now. Do you want to tell us about that?
What?
Feeling like a Disney princess?
Number 2. That smug feeling of finishing before noon, which actually, Dave, you can't tell us about because we all know afternoon is your hike time.
Yes.
Not before noon.
That's right.
Number 3, dirt tans are the new beach tans. When you take your socks off, it's like that ring around your leg.
Some would say they've never really went out of style.
That's true. And number 4, hiking means the Bridger Boot Collection. The Bridger Ridge is here to help you smooth out the rough trails in front of you with enhanced stability and protection. The Bridger Ridge is Oboe's first boot with Gore-Tex. So bring on the smiles and the miles in the Bridger Ridge. And if you find yourself in or near any number of locations in either Utah, Idaho, or Montana, stop into Al's Sporting Goods to pick up your own Bridger Ridges. And this hiking appreciation moment is brought to you by Oboes of Bozeman, Montana, certified B Corp, 6 million tree planter, and inhabitant of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Oboes is the maker of premium quality footwear for the trail and the Cupid to the outdoor world. Oboes, love hiking.
It's time for a party shot.
No parting shot today. Any last thoughts on GOA Connect before we? Dave, do you have a parting shot?
Well, my parting shot is just go back. It's more Oregon specific, but all schools are under incredible budget pressure, and those that have outdoor school programs are going to be more and more pressured to make cuts of those. It's a big topic out here in Oregon, and so just a reminder: anywhere you can, support outdoor school.
It's awesome.
Is that something? Is there a spot? Is there something we can put in the show notes or a link that people can check out to help support anything like that?
Well, I can certainly send you to the friends group out here in Portland, but it's really just more of a general, let's not let this kind of, with all the craziness that's going on, with all the things that are obviously worthy of attention in our schools, outdoor school programs are shown over and over to do a very positive benefit and are super critical, of course, to our industry, to exposing kids that might not get the chance to spend out time, learn a little bit about the science of nature, and maybe build an appreciation and a memory that lasts them through their life. That's my parting shot.
And the other thing would be, as we're going to GOA, it would be nice to just give a little shout out to the newly announced members of GOA. Yeah. So we've got Downwind Sports with 3 stores in Upper Pennsylvania, owned by Bill Thompson, Todd King, Arnie Ronis, Nick Dobbs, and Matt Abbots. We've also got Granite Sports of Hill City, South Dakota, owned by Lisa and Pat Widerhold. We've got Sherpers, and they've got 3 stores in Hales Corner, Port Washington, and some other town.
No, you got to say it.
Okay. Oconomowoc, I think.
That's actually probably pretty close.
I think so. Owned by Nathan Sherper. We've then got the Trail House of Frederick, Maryland, owned by
Good shout.
Drennan and Katie Hicks. And finally, Wheels Up Adventures of Cumberland, Maryland, owned by Mandela and Jamie Eshefu.
All
So there you go.
right. Look at that. All right, I take it back. Double parting shot today. Support outdoor schools, and congrats to all of those folks who've joined the GOA. Hopefully you stop by and say hi to us when we're at GOA. The plan is to put a new episode up on Wednesday as normal, but with travel, if that gets a little delayed and it's more like Thursday, don't hold it against us. We're still going to try and get you 3 episodes this week. And we'll end it up right there, guys. We want your emails. Send them to myrockfight@gmail.com. The Rockfight's a production of Rockfight LLC. Today's episode was produced by producer David Karstad, art direction by Sarah Gensert, and for Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And let's get it over to Krista Makes, and he's going to take us out with the Rockfight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rockfighters.
Boom.
Yeah.
Rockfight.